Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prince's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown! Touchdown! Michael Jenkins! Holy Buckeye!
Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
Hello, and welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. This is a college football podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We're part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and we talk all things college football, mostly things about Ohio State and Florida, but we try to touch on every little thing there is about college football. Tim's a Florida Gator fan. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye fan. Give us a like, follow, comment on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll try to get back with you, and if you'd like us a whole lot, we'd love it if you gave us a iTunes or Spotify, some kind of review as to where you are and how we can get better and what we're doing well. So give us a shout out in one way or another, and we would really, really appreciate it. But without further ado, let's get to it. Tim Jones, how you living, brother?
Man, it's only week 2 officially in college football, and there's so much to talk about tonight. I am pumped. I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Dude, you are ready to go. You've been blabbing on and on about how – I didn't mean that's rude. About how excited you are, and I am 1,000% dreading this episode, and I'm in the let's just get it over as soon as possible mindset. So,
well, to be fair, this isn't about Ohio State. This is so much more than Ohio State this week. There was so many interesting games, so many things happening. Even up till 10 minutes ago, there was news coming out in college football that we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, that's exciting. Breaking news on the Tim and Shipe Show. Yeah, that's fun. But so let's get into our show. We'll do a weekend rewind, all the good games, everything exciting that happened in last week, and especially Ohio State, Oregon, and Florida, and South Florida,
Yep.
Something like that. Yeah, it's nice. So I kept thinking about this a lot, thinking about the Ohio State game is like, man, it'd be nice just to have 2 week openers like Florida and Alabama. And I don't know, everyone else, it seems like in the country who gets these 2 cupcake games before they have to play anything serious. Ohio State has had terrible luck with these week 2 non-conference ranked games. Look at USC back in 2009. Look at
Virginia Tech.
Look at Oklahoma a couple years ago. These week 2 non-conference ranked games really have Ohio State's number. We just do terrible. And here it is, another example of an Ohio State failure, a week 2 ranked non-conference game.
Well, and it's hard because a lot of times these games are scheduled a decade, if not more, in advance.
Right.
And you don't know what these teams are going to be when you actually go to play them. Like a few years ago, USF was a good team. They were a really good team. Like they were in conversations for, like top 25, top 10 teams. And by the time we get to the point where we're playing them, they're not relevant anymore. So it's hard to tell who's going to be relevant moving forward. Obviously, now Oregon, you would hope you would gamble in a decade they'd be more relevant than USF possibly, but you just don't know. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, that's true. I think we ran into that with, I don't know, there's a non-conference, maybe like a Virginia Tech or somebody like that after they'd beat us, where they just weren't as good as they're supposed to be. But Oregon came ready. They outcoached the crap out of us on Saturday. A lot of blame to go around. Tim, did you watch the game before I get into 2 nitty-gritty details here?
I did. I watched a lot of the game. I missed part of the second half because I was watching Florida, but I was going back and forth between the games. But I watched the first half almost play by play.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a list of 4 things here. Where does most of the blame lie? You can just pick one. Number 1, C.J. Stroud. Quarterback, Ohio State, Kerry Combs, defensive coordinator, Ryan Day, head coach, or just I'm going to call it just the defense, the players on defense. Where do you put the bulk of the blame for this loss?
For me, I say Kerry Combs as far as making adjustments. Like it seemed like Oregon seemed to just kind of do what they wanted to do. Yeah. They attacked the linebackers, it seemed to me, consistently and successfully, and then running the running game just unbelievable the way Oregon was able to run the ball against this Ohio State defense, running to the outside.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem like Ohio State made a lot of adjustments. It seemed like later on in the game, Ohio State got back in the game because Oregon stopped doing what they were doing early.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a lot of Ohio State to get back into the game. But it seemed like I blame the defensive coordinator here. Like, what were they doing in the game plan process and adjustments during the game?
Yeah, you're not alone in that. And I agree some part. There's a lot of things when you go back. I've seen some film on it. And there's a lot of this. Okay, so when you play junior high, middle school football, they tell you all the time to sustain the edge, hold the edge, crack back blocks. Those are taught in middle school, junior high, man. And Ohio State seemed completely inept. The players were running into each other, for crying out loud, on some of those.
Right.
Like, they just didn't know how to respond and play the crackbacks. And that's unacceptable. I don't think coaching is to blame for that. I mean, you fill the gaps. That's players. That's what you're taught, like I said, in middle school. You're college athletes playing at an elite level, and you have to know how to react to that. And the DBs, man, they just so young. And now the part I do put on Kerry Combs is, and this might be Ryan Day too, I don't know, maybe it's a Ryan Day philosophy, but we're rotating too many players. You get your good players in there and you play them all the time. Like, I understand that we have depth, and if we want to rotate to keep guys fresh, but there's also something to be said about keeping a rhythm, getting in rhythm, and playing on a rhythm. That's why I don't like switching. I don't like a two-person rotation at running back, because running backs need that same kind of rhythm, and I really hate it on defense.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard some conversation, and this may fit more into our overreaction segment, but I don't have it listed there specifically. But as far as every time there's a change in coaching with a big time program, there's a carryover of success moving into the next coach, right? So, Miami saw this 20 years ago when they were really, really good. And I think his name was Larry Coker, won the championship in like a long time ago at Miami, but he was a terrible coach. He has had this success that was left to him. The question now is Ryan Day a really good coach, or is Urban Meyer's success finally starting to waver? And is Ohio State about to be diminished as a program for the next couple of years?
My gosh.
I'm just telling you, this is what's being talked about.
That is a ridiculous statement. So, no, if you look at the players on the field, they're all freshmen on defense. I mean, the defensive backs, I mean, we have some really Burke out there at cornerback. He is a really good cornerback. We have a lot of talent. This program's not going anywhere. But there needs to be some soul searching. Ohio State will be in the Big Ten championship game again this year. They just have to do some soul searching. So Ryan Day, he's got to get some things figured out, but he's a really good coach. I mean, this is the first game he's lost that he should have won. This is the first time that he's on any type of pressure, because when you look at the Clemson game, you don't say we lost that because of coaching. When we lost to Clemson in the playoff game, you look at Alabama, that was a historically good team. You don't look at that, everyone was like, hey, we got there, like nobody's beaten Bama this year. Florida came close, but they were historically good last year. You don't put that on the coach. This is the first one that Ohio State has lost where you thought we should have won. And so this is Ryan Day's first time facing this kind of adversity.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not saying necessarily that is the case, but that's the conversation is he as good as we thought, or is it potentially he inherited a lot of really good players and he is not capable of developing into the quality we expect of this program? Now, what you're saying doesn't change anything, because you're right. He will be in the conference championship, but that doesn't necessarily speak to Ohio State that might talk about the Big Ten level this year. And that's the difference, I think.
Yeah, no, Ohio State's not going anywhere. I think that's a silly conversation to have. Yeah, that I don't even want to respond. That's stupid. Okay, so the blame partially CJ Stroud.
That's arrogant also, by the way.
What I just said is arrogant?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, what I mean, it may be arrogance. It's deserved arrogance because of the level of recruiting we've had for.
But not by Ryan Day. That's my point. Is like you don't know what Ryan Day is.
Ryan Day's recruited well for the last 3 years.
Based on legacy. That's my point. Is like the 4 years after coach leaves, it's legacy. It is the coach before him
4 years
brings in players. Yeah, 4 years, exactly 4 years. 4 years is the exact number of legacy. It's the freshman to senior graduating class. The program has a reputation. If that doesn't continue, if they don't continue to develop and succeed and meet the expectation players expect, then they don't continue to develop. They don't continue to recruit. It doesn't work out that way. So that this is a year where Ryan Day has to create the expectation of, I am this good as a coach. I'm going to continue what was left to me. And if he doesn't, that's when players start going other places.
Okay. This needs to be saved for our overreaction thing because this is Ryan Day's first loss that he should have won. Number one, Tim, and you're talking about a program crumbling. So let's pump.
No, I'm saying this is the beginning of the end. That's what I'm saying.
That's what, you're talking about a program crumbling. This is the Commodus of Rome. Commodus is the Rome emperor. This is the Ryan Day is the Commodus of Ohio State. Let's pump the brakes on this one loss, and now the whole program's going to start to crumble. That's ridiculous. Anyway, CJ Stroud, I'm going to give you his stats, and you tell me whether or not you think he lost us the game. 35 of 48 passing, 484 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 3 of his wide receivers went for over 100 yards. Is he the reason Ohio State lost, or is he to blame at all?
No.
Okay, I agree with you. He's not why we lost, but he's also why we didn't win. I think 2 things can be true at the same time. He did not hit any. So our wide receivers had a step on their defensive backs consistently on the deep passes, and he overthrew every single one. And in the fourth quarter, when the defense had to make stops, they did. They had 2 stops within 5 minutes. We got the ball back with like 5.5 minutes left, and then again with 2 minutes left. 2 3-and-outs, bam, bam. And the offense completely stalled, and CJ Stroud threw that pick that completely killed it for us. So he is not why we lost, but again, he's the reason we didn't win because he couldn't hit the deep ball. If his first read's not there, he may check down a couple, but he's not comfortable throwing it to him. He's a freshman. He's a freshman. And when he can hit the dinks and dunks and the guys can run it, he can hit even the mid-range throws. You're 15, 20 yards down the field, but he can't hit the deep ones. And it's hard because I'm so used to Justin Fields and Haskins who could hit those. But, give those wide receivers a chance because they're more than likely going to come down with it. So that's my opinion on CJ Stroud.
Well, I don't disagree with you there as far as could he have been better, yes. But I also think considering that Oregon was down 2 or 3 of their best defensive players in this game, they didn't play because of injuries and other situations. They had 3 players, I think they were out, that were starters, that were stars for Oregon on the defensive side. My thing was, why was the running game not able to get going a little bit better? Now, they averaged decent numbers running, but why did they give up on that? Why did they not run the ball better
Ohio State
against this Oregon? Yeah, Ohio State against this Oregon defense.
I heard Ryan Day in his presser after the game say that we couldn't get the running game established. So, and I think us missing on those 4th and shorts really, we went 1 for 4 on 4th down conversions. And we tried to run the ball a couple times and just got stuffed. And that just, I don't think Ryan Day had any confidence in our running game after that. But I think we should have ran it more. Mine Williams was, he was getting 4, 5, 6 yards a pop.
Yeah, 5.5 yards a carry.
Yeah. And I think if we would have kept with it, we could have got the running game established, and it just wasn't a you tried to do 250, 250. I think that's the goal that I've heard Ryan Day and Urban Meyer say. 250 passing, 250 rushing, you'll win the game. And that didn't happen. We were throwing the ball way too much. I agree with you there. I don't know. Just no confidence in the rushing game, apparently. I don't know. It's frustrating. And man, luckily we got a couple weeks here to get things right before we face anybody that's a real competitor. So we'll see.
What happened to Master Teague this game? Is he hurt or is he just out?
I just think he's been passed up. I think he's third on the depth chart now.
I told you last week, like, he wasn't good enough, and I felt like that was going to happen. I wasn't sure. I noticed, like, he didn't play.
Mine Williams 1, Travion Henderson 2, and then I think Teague. Yeah, I don't think Master got a single snap. He'll probably transfer or something after this year. Yeah, just really frustrating. It's not the end of the season. A lot of players are saying, hey, we lost week 2 in 2014 and we came back, but this is not the defense that we had in 2014. Right. We had dudes. I mean, we had Bosa and Bennett on the edges. We had Darren Lee at linebacker. We had just studs on defense, and we have freshmen this year. They kept talking about Oregon being down. I mean, we were playing with an injured Jordan Fuller, our defensive leader, the only guy with any real experience. We don't have Sevyn Banks, our most talented cornerback. We're out Marcus Hooker, our other free safety. Ohio State's defensive backs are depleted as well. Cameron Brown, you could see him limping all the time. But he's not playing at 100%. They kept mentioning Oregon's players that were down, but Ohio State is down a lot too on defense, and I didn't hear them mention that at all. It's frustrating. It's all frustrating, Tim. I'm just ticked, man. I'm ticked. So stupid.
Well, I think the difference is that's not where the stars are for Ohio State this year. Coming into the season, that's not the expectation. Whereas with Oregon, those guys are returning stars, and that's why it was a conversation starter, I guess. And also, it was I think everyone agreed it was Oregon's best chance of beating Ohio State coming into that game were those players. So with them being out, I think that turned the tide. The expectation was Ohio State would handily win this game, and as we all know, it just didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, sucks. Stupid. So stupid. All right, tell us about Florida and your South Florida game.
Well, obviously, South Florida, not a huge opponent, not a lot of expectation in this game. The biggest topic of conversation is obviously the quarterback situation with Florida and what's going to happen. And, the reality is, I think we all know Anthony Richardson was absolutely unbelievable in this game. Just ridiculous. His stat line, he was 3 for 3 for 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's it. That's passing numbers. That's rushing, crazy. He had 4 carries for 115 yards and a touchdown.
Jeez.
So he didn't play that much.
Right.
But what he did is when he was on the field, he was just electric. Yeah. To the point where there are betting numbers now that have Anthony Richardson as the number 1 leading candidate for the Heisman this year.
Yeah, he's not even named the starter.
Right. Yeah, talk about an overreaction. Yeah. Crazy situation. And what happened was Emory Jones. So here's a reality. Emory Jones is Felipe Franks at this point, where when he's on, and there's all the talent in the world, but he just can't quite put it all together. Yeah. And he seems to gets flustered a little bit, and then he makes a bad play. And against bad teams like FAU and against South Florida, you can get away with that. You can't get away with that against Alabama this weekend. You just can't do it. He threw 2 bad interceptions again this week against South Florida that he waited too long to make the play, overthought it, and made a bad pass, and it was picked off. And obviously, at this point, the game was out of hand. The only difference was covering the spread didn't happen because of it, but that's a different conversation. But that's the thing is they kept putting him back in the game, even when Richardson showed he was obviously the better player. Yeah. They kept putting Emory Jones back in just to build his confidence. I believe that had to be what it was. There's no other reason other than to build his confidence against a bad opponent because of his I think Mullen is one of those guys. He's just stubborn with that. He's I'm going to let the guy who has more experience come in and play instead of saying I have the better guy here. Clearly Richardson is a better player. Yeah. So the bad news is on the last play Richardson played in this game, he ran over 70 yards for a rushing touchdown. This guy's 240. He's a huge guy.
Yeah.
He outran the entire South Florida defense and scored a touchdown and tweaked his hammy in the process. So I'm hoping he's good for the Bama game. If he's not, we have no chance. Let's be honest.
Really?
We just have no chance coming in against Alabama. No, Emory Jones hasn't shown us enough to show that he can win against a team like Alabama. Let's be real.
Yeah.
They need Richardson in this game to at least change things up and keep Alabama on their toes. And, that's what for me, it's like, there's no question. Absolutely. It should be Richardson in this game. He should be starting.
Mm-hmm.
He's their guy. Their defense looked okay against South Florida. They allowed 20 points, but a lot of it was garbage time type plays.
Yeah.
Jacob Copeland, he wears number 1 this year as the standout player on the offense. And he showed that this weekend. I mean, with 5 receptions, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Nice.
So he had a great game. Really, really solid game. All around, offensively, they just did what they needed to do. No problem. Scored 42 points. And defensively, they did enough. A few sacks. No big deal. Like I said, we're focused on Alabama. That's what it comes down to is, again, you and I are going to be at this game this weekend.
We're going to be there, man.
It's a huge game.
In person,
live. We're going to be at this game.
Yeah.
It all comes down to, can Richardson play in this game? If Richardson plays, and what I'm hearing is the hamstring injury is minor, so they're expecting him to play. If he plays, at least I feel like we have a shot against Alabama. And they're unbelievably next level talent on their team. If he doesn't play, I don't feel good about it. I don't think Emory Jones on his own can handle it. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. So thinking back to Felipe Franks, if he doesn't get injured, does Kyle Trask ever get a chance?
I don't think so. That's what I'm saying. Is Dan Mullen is stuck on these they've earned their opportunity. We're gonna stick with them. They have more experience, but not really. Emory Jones barely has played.
Yeah,
his first start was this year. He's played in games, but as a backup, coming in garbage time against teams like USF, not as no real experience. And I feel like that is the same example as Felipe Franks, where it's if he doesn't get hurt, Trask doesn't come in, doesn't have an unbelievable year and a half. Right. And we don't have the guy that we have playing the NFL right now.
Right. Yeah. Felipe Frank, that's a weird thing. It was clear, once he hit the field, that Trask was better.
Yeah.
And either Dan Mullen isn't seeing it or he's putting blinders on and ignoring it. Oh, man, that's a bad place to be, Mullen.
Yeah, but a lot of people have said if we have one more game like that, even Mullen can't ignore it anymore. If they have another game where Richardson clearly outplays Emory Jones, then it's all right, you know what? We got to do this. We got to move on, and we got to let him do his thing because he's just unbelievably athletic. He is a rocket for an arm, and he is a big game situational type player, and that's just not Emory Jones at this point.
Yeah. I called it last year, even when I saw Emory Jones in garbage time. I was like, this guy, he's not it. Called it last year when I first saw him. Anyway, I'll keep saying that week in and week out until they make the change because I know just looking at Emory Jones, he's not the guy.
I know, and I like him. He's a good guy. He's a good kid. He's played really hard. He's worked really hard. He just doesn't have it. And I've been in groups talking to his dad, where his dad's saying, "Stop attacking my son," and people are trying to be like, "Look, it's not nothing personal. It's just." He's just not the guy, and that's where I am at this point. Is where I like him as a player. I like him. I like his loyalty. I like his athleticism, but he's not Anthony Richardson. He can't lead his team to a national championship.
Yeah, he chose Florida over Ohio State. Do you remember that? I think he decommitted from Ohio State and went to Florida.
He and Jacob Copeland both.
Yeah, don't like it. Well, I mean, it's fine. We're all right at quarterback. CJ,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It might be Kyle McCord time. If he can hit the long ball, it's Kyle McCord time. CJ Stroud can't hit it. Anyway, I've said enough. Moving on. Frustrated. All right, let's take a quick break. Listen to our sponsors, hear from our sponsors, and we'll come back with our overreactions. Hang tight.
Hi, this is Maria Gincola with Mindful MMJ Ohio. Did you know that medical marijuana has been legal in Ohio since 2016? If you have one of 25 qualifying medical conditions, you can obtain your medical marijuana card today. The most common conditions are chronic pain, including migraines and back or joint pain, PTSD, fibromyalgia, spinal cord disease or injury, and cancer. If you or someone you know is interested in learning more or to find out if you qualify, visit mindfulmmjohio.com and fill out the short pre-qualification form. The process of finding a physician, filling out paperwork, obtaining medical records, and scheduling an appointment seems like it would be a daunting process for most. But, lucky for you, Mindful MMJ Ohio will help you every step of the way to make the process quick and easy. In most cases, we can approve a qualified patient within 24 hours. And the visit is virtual, so you don't even have to leave home. So what are you waiting for? Visit mindfulmmjohio.com today. That's mindfulmmjohio.com. Let us help you be more mindful of your health and find a natural way to find relief from your symptoms.
All right. Welcome back, folks. All right, Tim, take away your overreactions this week. You got some big ones, some you're excited to talk about. So these are my reactions to your overreactions because I don't know what you have for me.
I have so many overreactions this week. So the breaking news of the week is USC losing, getting blown out by Stanford at home, fires Todd Helton.
Oh, really?
Todd Helton got fired tonight. He's done. If you're just listening in, Monday night, Todd Helton officially was fired by USC. He's out.
Whoa. Already?
Already. That's it. That's all it took is them getting blown out by Stanford at home. And they said, their athletic director said, this is not the guy that's going to lead us to prominence to where we used to be. He's not the guy. So they let him go.
Oh, my goodness.
Talk about overreactions, week 2.
Yeah. Wow. I did not see that. I've been in a hole here.
See? What's
Clay
your reaction?
Helton, you mean, right?
What's that?
Did you say Todd Helton?
I did say Todd Helton.
I think you mean Clay Helton. Todd Helton plays for the White Sox, I think.
You're absolutely right. Todd Helton's not the right guy. Clay Helton, my bad.
Wow.
What's your reaction to that? It's news, breaking news.
Yeah, I thought they'd give him more time than this. 2 weeks, I thought his seat was heating up, but not on fire. I mean, luckily, whoever the athletic director at USC isn't the athletic director at Michigan, because Harbaugh would have been gone long ago.
Very true. Yeah, Mike Bohn he's not messing around.
He's not messing around. And I think I heard some things in the offseason about this guy just getting in his players' faces, just not treating his players well. So I'm sure, it's not just this horrible loss. There's something there, something more than just this loss to Stanford. But man, what a tough break for Clay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an overreaction, I say, on their part based on it's only week 2 and they're already like, we don't like what we see.
Yeah.
We're making a change. Let's do it now.
Clay Helton, he was the assistant coach at Alabama last year, right? Offensive coordinator, is that right?
No, he's been with USC since the it's like 2010. He was there way back in the day.
Oh.
Yeah, he was back there with Kiffin.
Oh. I thought
yeah.
Never mind. I got it all confused. All right. Sorry, folks. I'm an idiot.
No, you're good. No, he's actually stepped in after Kiffin was let go and Sarkisian was let go. He took over as the interim head coach, and they finally gave him the full-time job before this. But what's not surprising is he was the head coach already when the new AD stepped into place. So I can see him being short leash in that situation where it's like, you know what, you're not my guy.
Yeah.
You're out.
Yeah. It's a Haskins-Rivera situation from the Washington football team.
Yeah.
Where Rivera came in and Haskins wasn't his guy, so didn't really give him much of a chance. So what's next for USC? Who's out there? What do they look for?
I have no idea what they're expecting, what their expectations are, who they're going to go after. I haven't heard a lot of big names in the West Coast lately of who would even earn that job.
Yeah, it's the overreaction. I agree. This is an overreaction. Give the guy maybe not a full season, but more than 2 weeks. My goodness.
2 weeks. That's it.
All right. Wow. Breaking news. Clay Helton out the door. What else you got for us, Tim?
And the next thing is the the Texas Longhorns after getting blown out by Arkansas. And that's a whole conversation. Is like you wish, like, careful what you wish for. You want to win the SEC. This is what happened.
Right. Welcome to the league. They trolled them.
An Arkansas team has not been very good for the last several years.
Yeah.
And they just absolutely destroy them.
Yeah.
But they're making a change at quarterback this week. They are going from Casey Thompson to Hudson Card, hoping that that'll change the team and the trajectory of this offense. And, I don't know if that's a true overreaction other than the fact that they got blown out by an SEC opponent.
Yeah, I mean, you and I spoke preseason that Texas shouldn't be ranked. There's no way. I would have put money on Arkansas at least covering the spread. I didn't expect a blowout like this, an embarrassment. Right. But man, Texas, it's been a while since they've been any good. 2004. Is that right? 2006, maybe they were okay, but
2006, 2007, somewhere in there. That was the last time I think they were relevant.
Falling off a cliff in just a little over a decade. So, bad stuff for Texas. But for some reason, they keep getting preseason ranked, and now Arkansas, since they beat a 15th ranked team, is going to shoot up.
They'll be ranked somewhere in there.
Yeah, they're going to be ranked, and then they're going to implode to the SEC.
And I guess the reason I called it an overreaction is the fact that neither one of these guys showed us a lot in this game. And I understand Card was kind of the guy, or Thompson, was kind of the guy, but he was only 5 for 8 for 57 yards. Card came in, he was 8 for 15 for 61, no touchdowns each. So it wasn't like either one of them was overwhelming, but I guess they saw enough from Thompson to say, you know what, you're out. You're not the guy for us right now. We're going to try somebody else. I think this shows a lot of desperation for this Texas program at this point. Yeah,
they're going to have to hit the transfer portal in the offseason because they don't seem to have an answer at quarterback.
Yep. And then my number 3 overreaction of the week is just the fact that Notre Dame, Miami, and Florida State are just bad.
Oh, my God.
They're just bad.
Notre Dame, what are you doing? Barely snuck by. Florida State got smoked, so that
they got beaten by no. Florida State didn't just lose.
Yeah,
and it was his last second play, but I don't care. They lost to Jacksonville State. The Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Keep in mind, this is not Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know if you know this, Shipe. This is Jacksonville, Alabama.
Oh, jeez.
They lost to Jacksonville State. Jacksonville, Alabama Gamecocks, who not only are they not a good team or a program that even lives in a city that sounds like a city they would be in. This is a team who lost to UAB last week, 31-0.
Jeez.
And they just beat Florida State.
Oh, man. Yeah, a lot of issues. And, Florida State, Notre Dame. Who else
I just want to laugh. Miami.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah, Notre Dame barely surviving Toledo after beating Florida State in overtime. That win doesn't count anymore. You don't get to celebrate that win against Florida State anymore.
No.
Then you turn around and beat Toledo barely. When Toledo, all they had to do was kneel it down a couple of times and kick a field goal to win the game, and they win. Yeah. And they allow Notre Dame to survive for a second week in a row against a bad team.
Yeah.
Miami against Appalachian State barely survives. Mm-hmm. And then Florida State loses to Jacksonville State, a team who lost to UAB 31-0. These are bad teams.
Bad. But guess what? They'll be ranked again next year when the polls come out.
They will be because they're national program. And that's just what happens.
Yeah. All right. Overreactions. Mine are just Ohio State overreactions. Defense needs an overhaul, possibly a new defensive coordinator. Adjustments just need to be made. My overreactions, Ohio State. That's all I can really think about because I kind of shut down on Saturday after. Yeah. Not I still paid attention to my family and had fun with my kids, but college football wise, I just shut everything down. So that's all my overreactions are Ohio State and CJ Stroud put up the numbers, but I'm not a believer at this point yet. Make me a believer, CJ Stroud. I want you to. I'm rooting for you. All right. Let's talk top 4, Tim. Who is in your top 4 now that Ohio State took the L? Are you in the Oregon camp? You putting Oregon in the top 4, making the college football playoff this year?
No.
No?
Not yet. I'm not ready for that yet.
All right.
I think USC will rally with these changes and those. I picked them to win the conference before. I still think they're winning the Pac-12 now.
Okay. Who is that again?
USC.
USC, really? So
over Oregon.
So does the Pac-12 team get a team in the playoffs?
No.
No Pac-12.
No, I was saying as far as Oregon's out, they're not in consideration for me. I still look at right now, I think Alabama is way above everyone else. I'm nervous about this weekend, but I'm hopeful. Then I still think, especially with the way everyone else played in the Big 12, I think Oklahoma is going to get in based on the fact that everyone else is not that good in the Pac-12.
Okay.
And then I look at Clemson. I think their schedule the rest of the way is still pretty simple. I think they're going to get in, again, just because of the schedule in the conference and what they have left. So I think it'll be Alabama. I think it'll be Oregon. I think it will be Clemson. And then I think there's a possibility of potentially Ohio State getting in if they win the rest of the way. But they can't have a hiccup. They can't have a close game. They have to blow everyone out. But I still think Ohio State's schedule the rest of the way is pretty simple. So I think they'll get in. Okay.
I'll make mine pretty quick. Bama, Georgia, Iowa, Oregon. Iowa's impressed. They have the marquee win, though. I think they'll be in the conference championship game. And the way their defense, it's been 25, 26 games since their defense has given up more than 24 points.
Yeah.
Considering Ohio State has given up probably more than 24 every game, Ohio State's defense isn't good anymore.
Right.
Like, they're just not good. They're not the Silver Bullets. They're just not good. They haven't been good for several years. So we need to get our hands on whoever's Iowa's defensive coordinator is. 25 straight games, not giving up more than 24 points. That's impressive. They're a really good team this year. You know what they're not doing? They're not subbing in their linebackers every other play and their defensive linemen and defensive backs every other play. They're not doing that. They're playing their best players. Just frustrated. So I got Bama, Georgia, Iowa, and Oregon. If Oregon wins out, they're obviously going to be there. And who would they have to play in the Pac-12? I mean, they're going to win the Pac-12. They're going to beat USC. And they're a good team, man. And so I'd heard rumors that Oregon has been coaching this game, has been getting ready for this game for the past 6 to 9 weeks. This is all they have been preparing for, is this Ohio State game. And so it would be terrible if they just crumbled here towards the end, but I don't think they will. They have good running back. They have studs on defense. I think Oregon, they're a really good team.
My only issue with your top 4 is how will Alabama and Georgia both get in?
I don't know, Tim. I don't know. As of right now, they're the top 4 teams. They're one of the top 4 teams. That's really
so not so much a playoff, just the top 4 teams that you see on the field.
Yeah.
Okay, I can live with that.
Yeah.
I was going more for who's gonna be in the playoff, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Top 4: Bama, Georgia, Iowa, Oregon. All right. Okay. The fun part, the part that is exciting because it looks to the future, Tim. I'm tired of looking to the past. This next segment, our picks against the spread, our Pats, take us into next week. So, Tim, break it down for us.
All right. Well, let's review last week. First of all, we came in after we were tied after week 1.
Yep.
Last week we both agreed that Ohio State would beat Oregon by 14.5. We were both wrong, obviously.
Dead wrong.
You took Iowa over Iowa State. I did not. Iowa State was favored by 4.5. I thought Iowa State would show up with their seniors coming in, their experience. They did not.
Nope.
So you won that one. Washington and Michigan, we both picked Michigan to handle a Washington team that lost to Montana, and we were both right on that one. Michigan took care of business. I wouldn't celebrate Michigan just yet.
No.
And Jim Harbaugh's all we're ready to play Ohio State now. No, calm down. You beat a team that lost to Montana. Relax. Right. So we both picked that one, and we're right. So Europe won at that point, and then Florida